Okay, good afternoon. Now the Seder represents life, Mayor. Why is that? In this world, we have salt water, salty tears, right? And moror. Who doesn't have moror in his life? But then comes the festive meal. Despite all of our tzoros and problems, right? The Seder, salty tears, moror, bitterness, but then comes the payoff, right? So despite all of our problems and tzoros, on Pesach night we count our blessings. We focus on the glass being full. Half full and not half empty. Appreciate that we have cherut, we have our own country, our own government. Appreciate it. Don't look at the glass as half empty, but as half full. So that's the Seder night, is a time to appreciate what we have in life, despite the moror and despite the bitter tears, despite all that. Now, Yitzias Mitzrayim is the roadmap to the final Geula. The long and winding road. Ta-ta. It began with the Exodus. When will it finish? In the end. And Mashiach comes. And Mashiach comes, right? And Mashiach comes. How do I know that it's incomplete, Mayor? I want you to do some text analysis. In the Shir HaTayam on Shvi Shal Pesach, we say, Ozi v'zimros ka. My strength and my song is Yud K. God's name is incomplete. The Shir HaTayam. Ozi v'zimros ka. We're going to read that in Shvi Shal Pesach. God is my song and my strength, but God's name in Parshas B'Shalach is written Yud K. Ibigahakt. How do you say that in English? Incomplete. That's right. That same phrase in Isaiah 12. Ozi v'zimros, instead of saying ka, it says what? Yud K Vav K. Why is that? Goldie, you hear my question? The same pasuk that you have in the book of Shemos, Parshas B'Shalach. Ozi v'zimros ka. God is my song and my strength. There, God's name is written incomplete. That same verse is written in Isaiah 12 when he sings about the Messianic era. There, the verse doesn't say ka. It says what? Yud K Vav K. Same verse. But instead of ka, it's Yud K Vav K. Because the exodus from Egypt was incomplete. There's a long and bitter road ahead, and we're still on that road. It would only be complete when Isaiah 12, when Mashiach comes, and then we'll sing the song with God's name, not Yud K, but God's name what? Yud K Vav K, as we find in Yeshayahu, Perik Yud Bet. And therefore, it's incredible. Right after the Exodus, they leave the Red Sea, and right after that, 3 days later, they come to a place and the water is bitter. Now the Baal Shem Tov says water can't be bitter. Water has no taste. They were bitter. Yeah. So therefore the water tasted bitter before Sigmund Freud. A person that's bitter, whatever you give him to eat, even chocolate ice cream tastes bitter. So why were they bitter? Right after the ecstasy of the Song of the Sea. 3 days later, they're bitter, they can't drink the water. Because they realized that this is just the beginning. There's a long and bitter road ahead.
We sure do.
And therefore Isaiah 12, the same chapter where he says the same verse, my song and my strength is not called Yud K Vav K. There he says, Ushafte mayin b'sasan manei Yeshua. Unlike when the Jews left Egypt, the water was bitter. Ushafte mayin b'sasan manei ha-Yeshua. I won't give up my day job, Shirley, don't worry. It's Isaiah 12. That's the song of the Messianic era. The water won't be bitter anymore because we'll reach the final destination. And God's name is not Yud K, it'll be Yud K Vav K, the same song, but it'll be complete. And therefore we'll draw water, metaphor, b'sason. Mimayne ha-Yeshua. Eze Yeshua? Mashiach. Beautiful. Good thing you came today. So you can't say the same things every Seder night. You gotta... Okay. Now, let's get to Halach Ma'anya. Very difficult paragraph. This is the bread of affliction that our fathers ate in the land of Egypt. Whoever is hungry, let him come and eat. You don't have an agada with you, no? Whoever is in need, this year we are slaves. Next year we're going to be free. You know any slaves, Mayor? What are we saying every year? What are we fooling ourselves? Hashata Avde. You have it, Cecil. Hashata Avde. This year we're slaves. Next year we'll be free. Now let's get real, Sam. You know any slaves? Look them up in the directory. Slaves for hire. What are we saying? There's more than one type of slavery. There's more than one type of Mitzrayim. Psychological and spiritual slavery still exist. A person living in democracy can also be a slave to money, to fashion. The worst type of slavery, to walk around in torn jeans. And the more tears, the more expensive it is. I'm not joking. I looked in the window. If it only has 3 tears, it's 200 shekels. If there's 4 tears, it's 260 shekels. You think it's a sick joke? It's crazy. The more tears in the jeans, the more expensive. That's not a slave to walk around with torn jeans. I couldn't believe it. I was at a wedding the other night, and the waitress is wearing torn jeans. I said, "What are you, in a velut? What are you, mourning?" She looked at me like I'm off the wall. That's not a slave? To be enslaved to fashion? What kind of sick is that? And the more tears, the more expensive it is.
You throw it out of that store.
As Bob Grant would say, it's sick and getting sicker. That's not slave. So a person living in democracy can be a slave. Fashion, political concepts, the two-state solution. You know, the definition of insanity, Albert Einstein said, is you keep repeating the same things over and over again, but expecting different results. Two-state solution, been there, done that. How many Jews were murdered in Maine because of this two-state solution? But no, they can't give it up. Yeah. They're enslaved to that political concept. Oh, hopefully next year. What about digital slavery? Digital slavery, you see little kids, they can't stop twitching their fingers. They're like mesmerized, little kids.
Big kids also.
And big kids, right? Right? Enslaved to the Facebook.
Tablet.
The tablet. Digital slavery. So hopefully next year, we'll get rid of our modern day slavery and won't be enslaved to our tablet or our smartphone or dumb phone, hopefully. Okay, so it's amazing. Otherwise, what are we saying over here? What are we saying over here, right? Now, Ma nishtana Pesach. You can't ask the same questions, the same 4 questions every year. People get bored. Ma nishtana Pesach, Meir. It's the only Chag when you say Hallel when? At night. And in the middle of eating. Very strange. You're saying Hallel, Alfie. Time out, manja. And after you give a good greps, then you go back to the Hallel. What's going on? So Ma nishtana Pesach, it's the only Chag where you eat in the middle of Hallel. You're not writing it down to Ma nishtana. You can't ask the same questions every year. Ma nishtana Pesach. It's the only Chag that you say Hallel when? At night. And the only Chag you eat in the middle of what? Hallel. Very strange, Alfie, right? You're praising God, time out, bring on the food, and then you go back to the Hallel. So, the Maral Prague deals with this question. He says, the first time a human being was commanded to eat a sacrifice, remember, Noach brought karbanot, Cain and Hela brought karbanot. Noach, Shem, Aver, Abba Yitzchak, Yaakov. Would anyone dare to eat a karban? Sacrilege. A karban, the animal was burned on the altar, and the blood was smeared on the altar. Would a human being ever dare to eat a karban? Sacrilege. The first time in human history where God commanded a human being to eat the korban was when? Pesach night. And he said, eat the korban and the blood smear on the doorpost on the walls of your house. Why did God want us to smear the wallpaper full of blood? We're leaving the next day anyway, right? You leave a bloody house, but...
Altar.
What?
Altar.
So says the Maharal Prague. On Pesach night, God created a people, and the people and their homes, they will become a living Mizbeach. So instead of burning the animal on the altar, what do? Manja manja. Instead of smearing the blood on the walls of the Mizbeach, where do you smear the blood? On the walls of your house. So this concept was created on Pesach night, says the Maharal, where God created a people and the people's home, who they themselves will be a Mizbeach. Would Abraham dare eat a korban? Noach? No. But when on Pesach night, when a Jew eats, that's like a korban. So, you're saying Hallel on Pesach night. Because Pesach night, God created Am Yisrael. This concept, this revolutionary concept of a people and their house being a living Mizbeach, that concept was created when? Pesach night. That deserves a Hallel. To thank God for creating such a holy people, a living Mizbeach people. So when you're eating in the middle of Hallel, you're really not interrupting Hallel. The eating itself, Avi, becomes part of the Hallel.
Yes.
Manja manja. When a Jew eats on Pesach night, it becomes part of Hallel. It's no interruption. Because his eating is like a korban. Because the korban Pesach was eaten in the middle of Hallel. That's part of Hallel. When a Jew eats on Pesach night, that's no interruption of the Hallel Zisel, that's part of the Hallel. So therefore, it's the only chag that you say what? Hallel at night, and the only chag where you eat in the middle of Hallel because it's no interruption, it's part of the Hallel. Wow, isn't that amazing? Part of the Hallel. Now everything on Pesach night revolves around 4. There are 4 questions, 4 children, there are 4 Torah mitzvahs, right? 4 terms of endearment. The name Pesach has 4 names. Chag HaMatzot, Pesach, Chag Cherut, and Chag Aviv. Everything 4. Because we want to pay homage to the mamas. Right? The Gemara in Seder says that the Exodus happened not because of the chief rabbis or Moses, B'schus noshim tzidkoniot nigalu avatenu. Who represents the righteous women? The 4 mothers. So therefore, everything around the Pesach night is 4 questions, terms of endearment, 4 cups, 4 children, to pay homage to the mamas. Who are the 4 mamas? Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, or the Neshei Barzel, says the Zohar. The original Iron Ladies, Yaakov's 4 wives, before Maggie Thatcher, says the Zohar. You don't remember Maggie Thatcher. They called her the Iron Lady, but the Zohar says the original Iron Ladies was Yaakov's 4 wives. And the acronym is Barzel, FBI, CIA, Barzel. Bet stands for Bilhah. Ray stands for Rachel. Zion, Zilpah, and Lamed, Leah, the 4. So the 4 mothers, the 4 wives of Yaakov, who actually built the tribes of Israel. The original Iron Ladies. So therefore, we pay homage to them. So everything around the Seder night revolves around what? Number 4. Okay. Now, Havod minum para Mitzrayim. We were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt. It's very strange that in the Seder night, the kid gets confused. You have symbols of slavery and symbols of freedom. You have moror and salt water representing what? Slavery. And then you sit back like a king, drinking what? Delicious wine, reclining. I'm all mixed up. Surely I'm mixed up. You have symbols of slavery mixed in together with what? Symbols of Cherut. What's the message? The message is Cinderella. I'm not joking. You remember Cinderella's story? No, it's a good thing. Cinderella, they got it from us. Cinderella, what was she? She was a poor enslaved, right? A slave in her stepmother's house. But at the stroke of midnight, she became a princess. They got it from us, Abraham. They got it from us. We were slaves. But at the stroke of midnight, on Pesach night, we became what? Princes. Cinderella, they got everything from us. I'm telling you. Cinderella story. So therefore, symbols of slavery, because until the stroke of midnight, we were slaves. Bitter tears, salt water, myrrh. The stroke of midnight, we became, I think it's called From Rags to Riches.
Yeah,
Who sang that? They got that from us too.
Yeah.
From rags to riches.
Yeah.
So therefore, we have this what? Opposing symbols on the same night. We were slaves. Stroke of midnight, we became free. Very interesting. The transition from slavery to what? To freedom. The very same night. The matzah that we eat. Matzah man. The Barbanel says, for 210 years, what did the Mitzrim feed the Jews in the slime pits? Wonder bread? No, they gave them matzah. He said that's a staple of slaves because it fills you up. It also constipates you. You don't have to take too many toilet breaks. You can stay in the slime pits longer. So matzah was the symbol of what? Of slavery and degradation. The stroke of midnight, the symbol of slavery and degradation became what? The symbol of freedom. That's how God works. Salvation comes from the degradation. The matzah, the symbol of slave food. You know, you need Roto-Rooter when you eat matzah a lot. You don't have to go to the bathroom too much, right? Roto-Rooter, you know. But at the stroke of midnight, that became what? The symbol of our freedom. That very same matzah. That very same matzah, right? Very interesting. Right? Now, four children. The Torah speaks to four children. Now, which paragraph introduces the four children? Baruch HaMakoim Baruch Hu, Baruch Shanasan Torah L'Am Yisrael Baruch Hu. The paragraph, we bless God four times. Baruch HaMakoim Baruch Hu, Baruch Shanasan Torah Baruch Hu. Why is the paragraph that introduces the four sons introduced by blessing God four times? Shelley, what do you think? Because we thank God for all types of children, even the wicked child. Say what? You know what I said? The reason that the paragraph introducing the four children, or the four sons, has the word Baruch HaMakoim four times, Keneged, we bless God even for all type of children, even the wicked child, which is very strange. Which is very strange. Why is that? Because this year's Rasha, Shirley, can be next year's Chacham. You don't give up on any Jew. Just because he's a Rasha this year, doesn't mean he'll be one next year. No Jew is lost forever. You can pay me now, Avi, or... So therefore, we bless God even for the wicked child. Baruch HaMakoim four times that introduces the four sons. Now, which son am I, Mayor? Which son am I? Alfie was mechabim to my Rebbe, Rapam Zatzal. Oh, Alfie, you're cooking with gas. Rapam said that the four sons represent the inner struggle within each and every one of us. Sometimes we act like a chacham. Other times we lose it. And we act like, I'm talking about myself, and we act like a rasha. You lose it, right? Sometimes you have a short fuse. right? You carry on like a Russia. Sometimes tam, and sometimes you don't even know what to ask. The 4 sons, says Rapam, is each and every one of us. Sometimes in our life we act like a chacham, and sometimes never we act like a rasha, and sometimes like a tam, and sometimes you don't even know what to ask. You're completely baffled, right? Like the Holocaust, you don't even know how to phrase the question. Isn't that amazing? Not knowing what to do, not to ask. All of us have moments when we just don't know what, how, or even when, to whom to ask. Right?
Yes.
So on Pesach night, we have to enhance the areas of our personality that are positive. You got to accent the positive and try to eliminate the negative. Work on your positive traits and try to eliminate, or at least downgrade, the Russia side. But my Rebbe would say, every person is a Dr. Jekyll and a Mr. Hyde. Ever read the book? And he said, if you don't believe that, you don't know yourself. You know what my Rebbe said?
Yeah.
Sam, I wouldn't repeat us. He said, every person, no matter how great he is really a Dr. Jekyll and a Mr. Hyde. In the same person. It's a constant struggle between the Chacham and the Rasha. You win some, you lose some. You can't win them all. But even if you lose, don't despair. Hang in there. Pick yourself up and try to do better.
That's right.
You lose it. So try to push Mr. Hyde away and bring back Dr. Jekyll. But it's a constant struggle until the day we die. It's a constant struggle. You know, the Russia, he never knew, he never went to yeshiva, he wasn't as fortunate as we were. If he knew the beauty of Chochmas HaTorah, perhaps he wouldn't be a Russia anymore. He's brainwashed by, what's it called, by METV. MTV. Brainwashed. Yiddish, he never doesn't know. If he knew the beauty of Torah, he wouldn't be a Russia. You know the story. There was a great guru in India. There was a 6-month waiting period to see him. You had to make an appointment 6 months in advance. So this lady, Mrs. Goldberg, she takes a plane there to New Delhi. She goes to the palace there where the guru says, I must see the guru immediately. She says, lady, are you nuts? There's a 6 months waiting period. She says, listen, it's an emergency. Mrs. Goldberg from Tampa, Florida. I must see the guru immediately. She says, lady, you're nuts, get out of here. She breaks past the guards and she runs in. She says, Sheldon, your father's very sick, come home immediately.
Oh, that's good,
I thought it was pretty funny, no? Not so funny, it's actually true. Mrs. Goldberg, Sheldon, who was the guru? Her son Sheldon, come home quick, your father's very sick. Yeah. Right? I don't think it's a joke.
That places are filled with Jews.
The Jews, of course, right? The whole Mooney movement. It was all the Moonies, right? Now, if you just came to hear this, now hear this, now hear this. The Chacham, he wants to know it all. What are the Eidut, the Chukim and Mishpatim? You know, mitzvahs are divided between Eidus, Chukim, Mishpatim, laws between man and man, laws between man and God. The Torah is divided sections, right? Ben Adam Lamak, Ben Adam Chavero. I want to know it all. Sum up Judaism in one sentence. That's what he's saying. The Chacham, you don't have a God, you should bring it. What's it all about? What's it all about? So the 9,000 laws you can tell them, right? Keep Shabbos, fast on Yom Kippur, right? Masha? If you want to sum up Judaism, you know what we tell him? We quote the Mishnah Yehudim Pesachim, Ein maftirin achara Pesach afikoman. If you want to sum up Judaism, After you finish eating the lamb chop on Pesach night, no dessert. This is the Mishnah Sachin. That's what we quoted. You hear what I said? You finish eating a lamb chop. You want to have some par of ice cream, right? No. Thank you very much. That's the whole Judaism. Well, that's what the Mishnah says. Why is that the entire Jewish religion? There are 9,000 other laws you could quote him. After you finish the Pesach, the shawarma, no jello, no Viennese table, nada. That's Yahadut. Did you know that?
Yeah, I mean,
But why is it Yahadut?
Sweets.
I'm glad you asked me.
Nothing sweet.
What's Judaism? The Mishnah says, Eze Gibor HaKovesh Es Yitzro. Judaism is all about self-control. After you finish a shawarma, your mouth is dry, you want to have some parva ice cream or some chocolate cake. You can't have it. Judaism teaches self-control discipline. That's the entire Jewish religion. I'll prove it to you. You smell a delicious cheeseburger, bacon and eggs. Ah, the smell is divine. I gotta have it. You can't have it. You and your wife are lovey-dovey. 2 weeks out of the month. You got to have each other. You can't even touch each other. But I'm madly in love with her. And she's with me. 2 weeks out of the month, you can't even touch each other.
Self-control.
Self-control. Judaism, in one sentence, is self-control. How do you say halzachain? How do you say that in English? Hold it back. You want to eat before davening. You're hungry. You can't eat before davening. The first mitzvah given to the first human being is what? Don't eat that treifa tree. I want to have that tree. It's treifa. Judaism is all about self-control. That tree is not kosher. 2 weeks out of the month, your wife is not kosher. Incredible. Now, the $64 question, Mayor, why? Why is Judaism all about what? Self-control. Why? You don't fasten your seatbelts for this, you'll fall off your chair. Why is Judaism all about self-control? Why? There's a mitzvah in the Torah, v'halachta b'drachav. What does that mean? You have to walk in God's ways. Sefer Devorah repeats it a few times. There's a mitzvah to imitate the boss with a capital B, Rav Nachum. I hope you're writing this down, Rav Nachum. You wow your guest on Seder night. How did God create the world? According to all the Kabbalists, tzimtzum. How could there be room for anything or anybody? God is all-encompassing. So the Kabbalists say that God restricted and self-controlled into himself. Kavayochel, he limited himself. Otherwise, there couldn't be room for an amoeba, let alone a human being. So why is Judaism all about self-control? V'halachta b'drachav. To create the universe, God had to limit himself, restrict himself. So that's Yahadut, because our mission is to imitate the boss. That's what it's all about. God, Kavayochel, pulled into himself. Otherwise, there couldn't be room for anything. Tzimtzum. So, Yahadut is about tzimtzum. Right? How do you say? Stifle yourself. Stifle yourself? Nobody knows that expression?
Yeah.
Restrict yourself. Okay. V'halachta b'drachav.
From all of your family.
Restrain yourself. That's Judaism, because that's how God created the world. Otherwise, you couldn't have a world. And our tafkid is to what? To walk in his ways. Don't you see? V'halachta b'drachav. Mahu afata. Right? Mahu afata. Now, the Russia, very strange, so you got to look inside. How the English translation, you don't have to do it. I like the English translation of that. What does the Russia say? The Russia says, you old fuddy-duddy, get with it. So what do we say to him? What does the Russia say? What do we say to him? Haket shinav. The English says, knock out his teeth. I put on my boxing gloves, Shirley. That's what you say to a child sitting at the Seder? Every year we read this, what are we saying? What does the English say there? You're looking. The clock is ticking. Haket shinav means knock out his teeth.
This is like the that's
Or blunt his teeth. I'm not a dentist.
blunt is teeth.
They say blunt?
Sorry, just remember.
I'm not a dentist, and I also have no boxing gloves. What are we saying at the Seder? And that's what you want to say to a child sitting at the Seder? It's totally wrong, said my great Rebbe Rapam. Totally wrong. Haket shinav means to sharpen his connection to the shins. You ever look at your tefillin shalosh? The shin has how many heads? 4. Yeah, but it's 4. The 4-headed shin represents the mamas, the 4 mothers of Israel. The Neshei Barzel, Sarah, Rivka, Rocha, and Leah. The 4-headed shin represents...
He turns, just set his teeth on edge.
Set his teeth on edge.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Cause America.
Give him sour grapes?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Zisel, come on. So my Rebbe said, Haket shinav doesn't mean punch him in the teeth. It means shin from the letter shin. Sharpen his connection to his shins. Now, what does that mean? To the 4 mothers of Israel. No matter how wicked you think you are, you cannot sever your connection to the 4-headed shin, which represents what? The 4 mothers of Israel. Wow. We tell the Russia he's not as bad as he thinks. No matter what he does, he's still connected to Shaddai. With the 4-headed shin, he's still connected to God and to the mothers of Israel. Pesach night is the time to shine up your shins. Get it? No matter how bad you think you are, you're still connected to your shins. The 4 mothers of Israel, represented by the 4-headed shin in the tefillin. Alfie, check your tefillin. Did the guy make a mistake? He puts 4 heads in the shin. Not a mistake. Represents the 4 mothers of Israel. So Pesach night is the time to reaffirm our connection to the shins, the 4-headed shin, the mothers of Israel. No matter how bad we are or think we are, we can never break that connection. So what do we say? What do they say over there? We say to him what? Yeah, set his teeth on edge. Go ahead.
Because of this, Hashem did for me when I left Egypt.
Go ahead.
Fine for me, but not for him. If he had been there, he would not have been redeemed.
That's what you say to a kid at the Seder, Masha. Yeah, 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 yeah. For me, not for you. Does that make any sense, Sam? Let's get real. What are we saying? For me, not for you. If you were there, you'd be what? Sunk in the quicksand. That's how you say to a kid sitting at the Seder table, Rav Nachum. The English translates like that. That's not pshat, said my great Rebbe Rapam. It's not pshat. Ilu hayu sham. If you were there, where's there? Egypt, 3,329 years ago, before Kabbalah Torah. But you didn't have the life raft. You didn't have the life saver, the Torah. You'd be lost. But thank God you're not Sham. Over there you'd be lost. Because you didn't have the Torah. You had no anchor to schlep you out of the blotter. Thank God you're not Sham. Where are you? Here. Po. So you're never lost. A Jew is never lost because he has the anchor, the lifesaver that's called what? The Torah, but the Yidden in Mitzrayim didn't have that. So Nebuch, they were lost. We're not teasing him. We're saying it's a Nechama. Thank God you're not Sham. Years we read this, 50 years, you know what we're saying, Rabbi Abraham. Now you know. Now you know the rest of the story. Who said that? Now you know the rest of the true story. We're not Sham, we're Po. We have the Torah. And therefore what? Since we have the Torah, you can have 9 Moshe Rabbeinus in a room. Can you say Kaddish? 9 Vilna Gaons in a room, Sam. Why not? 9 Vilna Gaons in a room. Can you say Kaddish? If you have 10 Rishayim in a room, you can say Kaddish. Because we're not Sham, we're Po. We have the life-saving gift. I think it's called the Excelsior of Life. What's it called? Torah's Chaim, which they didn't have in Cairo. Elixir of life. So therefore, 9 Vilna Gaons, you can't say Kaddish. 10 wicked Jews, Yiskadal v'Yiskadash Merabah. Because you have the lifesaver, which is the Torah, which we only got when we left Egypt. Don't you see what's going on? Wow. Right? Now you open up the door for Aliyah Hanavi, right? Right? The 5th cup, you open up the door, but he can come through the chimney.
Yeah, that's so true.
He don't need an open door, Golda. Can he come through the chimney? I think they got that from us too. Said Lubavitcher Rebbe, David, why do you open the door by the 5th cup? To welcome the 5th son, the one who doesn't even show up. He's so fakrochen. How do you say that in English, David? He's so fakrochen that he doesn't even bother to show up at the Seder. You open up the door, the 5th cup, the 5th child who doesn't even attend the Seder, even he is part of what? The nation of Israel. Even though he doesn't know it. So that's the symbolism Lubavitcher Rebbe says, why you open up the door under the 5th cup, the 5th child. Well, Eliyahu Navi doesn't need an open door. He can go right through the wall, right? This is the whole idea. Eliyahu Navi comes to every Jewish home on Seder night. Not just to the tzaddik, not just to the Talmud Chacham. He comes to each and every Jewish home. Even the sinful, ignorant Jew. Because each and every Jew is precious to God. Not just the tzaddik and the Talmud Chacham. How do we know that? Looking more in Krisos. You ever learn Masechta Kritut? It's hard. Page 6. There's 11 herbs and spices in the kernel. 11 herbs and spices. There's incense. 10 out of the 11 had delicious sweet smell. 1 was, disgusting. But if that chelbana was not, Rabbi Kaplan said it was marijuana, that's why Kahanim were always very mellow. The Kahanim twice a day, Dave, not a joke, they inhaled that stuff, they burned it, there were no windows in the temple. So twice a day they burned the incense, and one of the chelbana, what a foul odor, of Kaplan in his book, Living Torah, said it was marijuana. Kahanim, that's what we're mellow. So why do you have the foul-smelling chelbana in there? And the Torah is the highest service. And if the chelbana is not there, the avodah is what? Pasul. And the kohen is chayiv mitah. Says the Gemara in Krisos, page 6, Reb Nachum. The chelbana represents the wicked Jew who doesn't smell so good spiritually. In fact, spiritually he smells. He stinks. So what? He's part of the Jewish people and he's in the mix. And if he's not in the Ketoret, the entire service is invalid and the Kohen is liable to a heavenly death penalty. Krisos, page 6, this idea how each Jew is what? Precious to God. Even the foul-smelling Jew. This is the Rasha. That's incredible. That's just amazing. It gets even better. You look at the end of Pasha's bowl. Rashi, the end of Pasha's bowl. Rashi says, you know why the tefillin has 4 sections? The tefillin has 4 sections. Says Rashi, Keneged Arba Banim. Rashi, the end of Parshas Bo. That even the Rasha has a section in the tefillin. Did you know that? Good thing you came today. See how this idea comes together, David, from different angles. The Cheldana, the 4 sons, the 4 sections of the tefillin. Rashi, the end of Parshas Bo, said that the 4 sections of the tefillin represent the 4 sons. That means even the Rasha has a section in the tefillin. Wow. Pretty amazing, huh? Hmm? Now, this Shabbos is called Shabbos HaGadol. Why? Because the rabbi makes a big speech, right? Is that why? Why is it called Shabbos HaGadol? So many people know because the Haftorah Malachi, God says, I send you Hanavi lifnei Yom Hashem HaGadol. I send Elijah to announce the great coming day of God. So Yom Hashem HaGadol v'Hanorah. So that's why it's called Shabbos HaGadol. Right? That's why it's called Shabbos HaGadol. There are many other reasons. Let me give you my reason. Ma nishtana Pesach mikol hachagim. It's the only chag that's called HaShabbat. Pesach is the only chag that's called HaShabbat with the Hey Hayediyah. No other chag. Ma nishtana Pesach mikol hachagim. It's the only chag that's called HaShabbat in Parshas Emor. The Torah calls it Mochvat HaShabbat. And the Talmud and Unkelos tell us it means Pesach. You start counting the tree on the 2nd day of Pesach. So Manishtan Pesach, no other Chag is called HaShabbat. Why is it called HaShabbat? Why? So Moralmi Prague says something incredible. The Gemara in Shabbos tells us if someone makes Kiddush on Friday night and knows what he's saying, all of his sins are forgiven. Shabbos page 119. You say Kiddush on Friday night, then God says, you make Kiddush on Friday night, and you know what you're saying, all your sins are forgiven. You don't have to wait till Yom Kippur. It's better Yom Kippur, you have to fast to get. Friday night, you're having a chopped liver, and you get filter fish, and you're still getting kapara. Why? Hocus pocus? What's important about Kiddush? So the Maharsha explains in the Maral, when you make Kiddush on Friday night, Shirley, what are you doing? You're testifying that God created the world in 6 days and rested on Shabbos. We are the J witnesses are phony. We are his witnesses. We are called Adat Yisrael, the word aid. You make Kiddush on Friday night, we're testifying that God created the world and rested on Shabbos. The problem is, Rasha Apostle Edut Zisel, to catch 22. God follows his own Torah. If a person is wicked, his testimony is what? Not valid. So when you make Kiddush on Friday night, God has to forgive us, otherwise he cannot accept our testimony. Because a wicked person is not, eligible to be a witness. And God follows his own rules. So therefore God has to forgive us. When we make Kiddush on Friday night, otherwise our testimony is not valid. We're testifying. Aid, that God created the world, rests on Shabbos. He says on Pesach night, we're also testifying. But we're testifying, Meir, not that God created the world, that's Shabbos. Pesach night, we're testifying that on Pesach night, God created the Jewish people. Yes. So therefore, Pesach is called HaShabbat. Just like on Shabbat we testify that he created the world, on Pesach night we also testify. Not that he created the world, that's Friday night. But every Pesach night we testify that God created the Jewish people. The Jewish people were created by God on Pesach night. Yeah. So therefore Pesach is called HaShabbat. That same power to atone that Friday night has, Pesach night has too. Because we're also testifying for him. We're also his witnesses. And a Rasha cannot be, how do you say pasuli edut in English? Pasuli edut.
Qualified witness.
Thank you. So you hear. So therefore, Pesach is the only Chag that's called HaShabbat, because it has that same saving atonement power that Shabbat has. Because we also testify for him. Friday night that he created the world. Pesach night that he created the Jewish people on Pesach night. So therefore, Pesach is the only Chag that's called Shabbat. So therefore, when do you make Kiddush? Monday night? When is Pesach?
Yeah.
Monday night. Have in mind that you're doing what? I just want to testify that God created the Jewish people tonight. So just like your sins are forgiven Friday night if you're concentrating, because you're a witness for him. So Pesach night, when you have in mind, you're also a witness for him. Wow. That he created the Jewish people on Pesach night. Your sins are forgiven. You don't have to wait till Yom Kippur. You have your matzah balls, and you get kapara. Unlike Yom Kippur, no matzah balls. So you see that Pesach and Shabbat is better than Yom Kippur. You manja, and you're getting what? Kapara. Now, let me tell you why I think the Shabbos before Pesach is called Hagadol. You ready? Pesach is the only Chag that's called a Shabbat, with the extra Hey HaYediyah. So perhaps I might think that Pesach has the same Kiddusha like a regular Shabbos. It has the same kapara power, and we testify for him, and it's called Shabbat. So perhaps, Cecil, Pesach has the same Kiddush as what? As a regular Shabbos. Close but no cigar. So the Shabbos before the Chag that's called Shabbos, the Shabbos before is called what? Hagadol. Because even though Pesach is called Shabbat, it's still not as great as the real thing. Take it or leave it. I think it's good, no?
We'll take it.
You take it, right? Hier my chidush, Reb Shalom. I think it's ausgehalten. How do you say that in English? I'll say it again. Since Pesach is the only Chag that's called a Shabbat, so I might get carried away, and I might think that Pesach has the same Kiddusha as Shabbat. Close but no cigar. It's called Shabbat, but it's not as great as the real Shabbat. So to make that, what's the word? Demarcation between Shabbos and the Chag that's called Shabbos, the Shabbos before the Chag that's called Shabbos is still much greater than the Chag that's called Shabbos. Nothing stacks up to the real McCoy.
That's right. What do you mean that it's called Shabbos on Pesach?
Pashas Emor Masha. Look in Leviticus 23. It says, "Usfratem lechem mimochrat haShabbat." You begin counting the Sphira from the tomorrow of the Shabbat. And Shabbat there, we're not Karaites. Shabbat there, we're not Sadducees. The oral Torah says the Shabbat means there what? Pesach. So since the Chag is called Shabbat, I might think it's just as chashuv, just as holy, just as important as the real Shabbos. So no, it's called Shabbat, but it's not as great, Hagadol, as the weekday Shabbat. Don't blur the lines. I think it's ausgehalten now. Don't blur the lines. You have to have it, right? See demarcation? In my opinion, that's why Shabbos before Pesach is called what? Hagadol. You with me on this? Pretty interesting, right? What? Now, let's get Kabbalistic here. I want to quote my... God created the universe Basara Mamorot. Mishnah says, how did God create the universe? By 10 sayings. How did God create the Jewish people? Through the 10 plagues. Just like the Mishnah says, Basara Mamorot Olam, God created the universe with what? With 10, what's the word? Utterances? Phrases? So, says the B'nai Yisachar, God created the Jewish people through the 10 plagues. Because just to punish the Mitzvah, he could have just whacked them one wacko.
Yeah.
But the 10 plagues were 10 building blocks. Each plague was another building block in creating Am Yisrael. So when was the last plague? Pesach night. That's when the Jewish people became created as a people. Through the 10 plagues. Number 10, on Pesach night, God finished the job. Isn't that incredible? So the 10 Makkos was not just to punish the Mitzrim. It was a building block to build, just like God used 10 sayings to create the world, he used 10 plagues to create the Jewish people. Beautiful. 10 for 10. Beautiful. And the Bnei Yissaschar points out, which is a bigger trick? Creating the universe or creating the Jewish people?
Jewish people.
How do I know?
Yeah, because you want out of Rabbi.
Ooh, Mayor.
What did you say? What?
I'll explain what Mayor said. Mayor said, beautiful. Mechaven to my Bnei Yissaschar. My grandfather's proud of you. Mechaven, make my day. Bnei Yissaschar. Why is it greater? Because God is kuloi toiv. God's midas give. God wouldn't give of himself. There'd be no amoeba. So God is kuloi toiv. He's constantly giving. Every time you take a breath, Dave, it's automatic pilot. Kol anshama to Hallel Yah, hallelujah. The last pasuk in Tehillim, the most important, because saving best for last. Every time a person breathes, it's what? It's a gift. It's a present from God. Who says so? King David. The last pasuk in the last chapter of Tehillim, I think it's called saving the best for last. Therefore, the Viennese table obviously comes when? The end of a meal. So King David saves the best for last. Psalm 150, the last pasuk. He says, Kol anshama to Hallel Yah, hallelujah. That every breath that you take, you have to thank him. Because it's a gift that he's constantly giving. Keeps on giving and giving. How many gifts do we get in a minute? So God is all about giving. To create the Jewish people, says the Bnei Yissaschar, he had to go against his own kaviyachol nature. He had to destroy Egypt to build us. That's a greater trick for him, kaviyachol, because he had to go against his own nature. He's all kulay toiv. And here he's destroying the Mitzrim and simultaneously what? Creating the Jewish people. That's a bigger kunz. How do you say that in English? A bigger trick. A bigger kunz. Because God is going against his own nature. He's destroying and he's building. The destruction of Egypt created the Jewish people. So that's a greater miracle, says the Bnei Yissaschar, than creating the world. Wow. Glad I came today. Now, Rashi tells us in Chumash that Egypt was the most corrupt, immoral, low-life nation on the face of the earth. Now, God had to send us into slavery somewhere. It could have been Montana. Could have been Tahiti. I mean, why did Florida, even Las Vegas, Mayor, why did God pick the most corrupt and immoral nation? Rashi in Parshas Achrei Mos says you cannot get any lower. How low can you go? Egypt, the most corrupt, most immoral, degraded nation on face of, and that's where God put me for 210 years. I mean, Tahiti wouldn't have been so bad. You gotta be a slave somewhere. Why? How do you be an Eved Hashem? You got to go to Eved school. Avod Haim. God says at the end of Parshas Bahar. It wasn't a punishment. There were no people to punish. When God told Abraham, your kids will be enslaved, what kind of punishment was it? There was no people yet. It wasn't a punishment. But we have to be Evet Hashem ki Avod Haim. Ki liben Yisrael Avadim. Avod Haim. How do you learn to be an Evet Hashem? Got to go to Evet school. Got to learn how to be an Evet. Then you can graduate Once you learn to be obedient to a human master, you can graduate, David, to be obedient to the divine master. But there are other places he could have sent us. Why Dafke, the most corrupt, immoral place? So one pshat is Evet School. What's the Columbia University of Evet School? Harvard University of Evet School. Mitzrayim. So we had to get a diploma from Harvard University, right? The most degrading nation, where the slavery was the cruelest, was Egypt. So this is basic training. I think it's called in English, basic training, how to be an Eved Hashem. But why such a corrupt nation? So Rav Soloveitchik Zatzal, to answer this question, what does he do? He says, you ever buy your wife a diamond tennis bracelet, your wife? Why are diamonds always displayed against a black background? Why? Why not a blue background, a white background? Oh, said the great Rav Soloveitchik. We are diamonds. So in order for us to shine, God had to put us against the blackest background. Black is black. Don't you hear Golden Rav Soloveitchik? Not me. The diamond shines the brightest against a black background. You can't get no blacker than Egypt. You can't get more shiny diamond than Am Yisrael. So God made the shidduch. Ask why? Go into 47th Street in the jewelry district. All the diamonds are black background. See, Rav Soloveitchik knew because he bought his wife a diamond, I guess. Right? Right?
The Egyptians were black. The Egyptians were black.
They were black, physically black, but the blackness of degradation. And that's what this Am Yisrael shined the most. The contrast. And the Rav said even more. The way the Jewish people are so moral. And we bend over backwards to try to see. David, we bend over backwards to try to see our enemy's point of view.
Yeah.
There's no, right?
Yeah, it's true.
We bend over backwards. Sometimes we'll snap. There had never a nation so moral, so kind, so generous as Am Yisrael. That's why we're hated so. So the Jewish people might think the whole world is like that. So God says, yeah, let me put you in Mitzrayim. Look what they look like. Then you'll appreciate what you have. The contrast. You think the whole world is as moral as Am Yisrael and as kind? I'll show you what the world is, says God. Then you'll appreciate what Am Yisrael is. Look at now. The Middle East, savages. The worst atrocities. Gassing children, murdering each other. And Am Yisrael. A diamond in a savage black jungle. We all shine on. Look at the Middle East. Savages. And Am Yisrael.
What is Israel supposed to do? We're supposed to sit back and not do anything? The government's not doing enough. They're killing, it's a Holocaust there.
Right. So what can we?
It's not better than when the Jews were being gassed.
Okay, but we're not doing it.
Why are we not jumping in there?
Why should we?
If you jump in there, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to appreciate it? Hey, whatever you do.
We're letting a man mass murder people.
But how many thousands of Syrians did we treat in our hospitals? How would they treat us if we went to the Syrian hospital? How would they treat us, Sam?
Badly.
How would they treat us?
They kill you.
Right? And we treat them, patch them up and send them back.
Free of charge.
Trump said he's going to do something.
Chag Sameach, we meet after the Chag. Chag Sameach.
Thursday, April 20th.
Thursday, April 20, meet again. Chag Sameach.